Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today I want to talk about hybrid training and the perceived dichotomy between training for aesthetics on one hand and training for performance on the other hand. The more my online following grows, the more I notice an interesting discrepancy between my own motivation to train and the motivation many others have. Virtually all of my content is centered around the idea of increasing objective performance measures, power, strength, endurance, yet many of the comments and messages I receive are questions about getting leaner and building muscle. In the beginning I was a bit perplexed because improving body composition is barely an afterthought to me. Today I want to make the case for training for performance and having a form follows function mindset. Most people get into physical training because they are self-conscious about their appearance. This is understandable because going through life checked and lean is a better experience than with a dead bod and pencil arms. A lot of those people turn to bodybuilding, and that's certainly a logical step to take because bodybuilding is the science and art of improving body composition. However, like any hyper-specialized field, it goes into depths that are outside of the scope of understanding of regular people. The average person on the street definitely admires a good physique, but they don't really care about things like perfect symmetry or vascularity. All they see is a jacked dude. This is not a knock on bodybuilding. I have a lot of respect for the work ethic and dedication to the craft. If you're a bodybuilder by heart, more power to you. However, if you're not passionate about bodybuilding and just want to have a decent physique, I suggest that there's a different way and it's potentially more fun. My contention is that for many people, pursuing hybrid athleticism may be a more enjoyable path to take that's still going to allow them to improve their body composition without hyper-fixating on it.
This is Alex Viada, who popularized the term hybrid athlete. The man put up elite numbers in powerlifting while also running ultramarathons. Very impressive indeed. Now if we take a look at his physique, we see something that we're going to notice time and time again. Very developed musculature, especially in the legs and back, and good density and leanness. Now before we proceed, we need to answer one question. What is hybrid training? Alex Viada defines it like so: the concurrent training of different athletic disciplines that do not explicitly support each other and whose disparate components are not essential to any one sport. The term concurrent training simply means developing multiple qualities or disciplines at the same time. We probably wouldn't think of a triathlete who also runs marathons as a hybrid athlete because the triathlon supports the running and vice versa. By Alex's definition, a hybrid athlete is basically a multi-sport athlete. My own definition is a bit broader. To me, a hybrid athlete is anyone that trains multiple qualities evenly across the continuum between power and strength on one side and endurance on the other side.
That may be an actual multi-sport athlete like Alex Viada, or it may be an athlete who competes in only one sport that inherently requires him to be well-rounded, and we're gonna talk about that in a second. The third type would be someone who doesn't compete at all, but their lifestyle or profession demands all-around fitness. Classic examples would be military, law enforcement, or other first responders. Next, let's talk about a couple examples of sports that require hybrid athleticism by their very nature. Number 1. Wrestlers. All competitive martial arts demand a high level of fitness, but wrestlers may be the freakiest of combat athletes. If you ever went through wrestling practice, you know that even the warm-up is more strenuous than most people's workouts. A typical session will include fast-paced calisthenics and acrobatics, as well as lots of drilling moves and actual wrestling. Trying to impose your will on a talented, athletic opponent places crazy demands on your body's energy systems, as well as static and explosive strength. Couple that with great coordination and flexibility, and you get some of the scariest athletes on the planet. Again, if we look at their physiques, we see the same thing: very dense and very lean. Now, before we proceed, I just want to say this is not supposed to be a ranking of any kind, and I'm not trying to suggest that those types of athletic endeavors are comparable in any way whatsoever. Those are just pretty much random examples of sports that require a multitude of physical qualities to be developed. Sport number 2, CrossFit. When I was a teenager, there was a very popular website called T-Nation, and it was before social media was big, and many of us got our information there. So shout out if you're old like me and remember T-Nation. So I first read about CrossFit in an article on T-Nation, and it talked about the founder, Greg Glassman, claiming CrossFit being better for body composition than natural bodybuilding. I remember thinking to myself, that's the dumbest thing I've ever read. Now don't get me wrong, I still don't believe the statement is correct, but I could imagine it was more hyperbole and tongue-in-cheek when he said it. Even though the claim that CrossFit is superior to bodybuilding bodybuilding is obviously bogus, you have to admit CrossFit has silenced the haters and proven itself to build extremely aesthetic as well as athletic and capable physiques. Now I can already hear some of you say, but they are on steroids. Yes, of course, most high-level athletes are on steroids, but it doesn't automatically disprove the validity of their training methods. The thing is, steroids are a force multiplier. Example number 3, kettlebell sport. Now this is a less well-known niche sport, and it's near and dear to my heart because, well, I compete in it. And the only reason I got involved in the sport was because I was blown away by the cyborg levels of conditioning the top guys possess. The typical high-level kettlebell sport guy will have pretty good aerobic fitness, pretty good strength, and elite strength and power endurance. So just a really good, well-rounded mix of attributes. For those that don't know, the sport involves lifting kettlebells for a set duration of time, 10 minutes in the classic events, even though there are half marathons and even marathons where you lift for 30 or 60 minutes respectively. And the idea is to do as many reps as possible without putting the kettlebell down. The classic lifts are the jerk, where you jerk 2 kettlebells from your chest overhead for 10 minutes. The snatch, where you do snatches with 1 kettlebell and 1 hand switch allowed, and the long cycle or clean and jerk. And just to give you an idea of what we're talking about here, the world record in the jerk with 232 kilogram kettlebells is 183 reps. So that's 64 kilograms, chest to overhead, 18 times per minute for 10 minutes straight. Kettlebell sport athletes typically possess a high level of general physical preparedness. A high volume of supplementary endurance training like running or rowing is common, and feats of strength such as 100 clean push-ups, even 100 dips, and relatively advanced barbell lifts are nothing out of the ordinary. Now, while some elite lifters don't possess a great physique for a variety of reasons, it's true that most people who practice kettlebell sport develop a physique that's very similar to a wrestler's body. And that's my personal experience, and also the experience of my clients, that pretty much all of them gained muscle and lost fat just from training for kettlebell sport. Now mind you, I'm not telling anybody to pick up CrossFit or wrestling or kettlebell sport. Those were just random examples from all over the board. All I wanted to do is make the point that it is possible to train for performance while still having a relatively decent physique. Now you may say, okay, that sounds cool, I get it. You can build an okay physique with this kind of training, but still, what are the advantages of doing all this crazy stuff compared to just going to the gym and sitting on a machine? Well, there are a couple. Number one, I think this type of training is very healthy. So You're developing your musculature, but also your cardiovascular system. So it's very good for health and longevity. Number 2, you're just training, for lack of a better word, in a functional way. You're athletic. You're able to run, sprint, run long distances, jump. No matter if you want to take up a new sport, you can do that because you're just fit and in shape. If there's an emergency coming up, again, you're prepared for it. And reason number 3, in my opinion, it's just a lot of fun because you're not just doing the same old stuff all the time. You have a lot of variety in your training. You're training with different implements, kettlebells, barbells, sandbags. You can throw stuff around, lift heavy stuff. You have challenges where you really get to test your mental strength because you have to jerk kettlebells for 10 minutes, for example. And also you're out in nature doing cardio. So I think it's just a lot more variety than just regular bodybuilding training. Anyways, that's all I got for today. Please subscribe to the channel, leave a like, let me know what you think in the comment section. And if you're interested in personal coaching or have any questions, just send me a DM over on Instagram. It's @kettlebell_aerobics. Have a great day.